Right now, LG supplies the screens inside Apple's most expensive iPhones. Think about that for 1 second. Apple, the most valuable company on Earth, pays LG to build the displays that go inside their own products. LG's technology is inside Sony televisions, inside NASA equipment, inside the most advanced hospitals on the planet. Today, LG is worth over $150 billion and operates in over 170 countries. But here is the secret that LG has never advertised. This company did not start with electronics. It started with face cream. And the man who built it was a bankrupt, humiliated trader who had already lost everything once, living in a country that was being systematically destroyed by a foreign empire. He had no technology, no engineering background, no investors, no government support. What he had was one obsession: build something so good that the world has no choice but to pay attention. This is the untold story of how a fired trader built LG into one of the most powerful technology empires on Earth. To understand LG, you first have to understand the world In-hwoi was born into: Korea. Japan had colonized the entire country, and Japan's strategy was simple and brutal: systematically destroy Korean economic independence so that Koreans could never challenge Japanese control. Korean entrepreneurs were blocked from major industries. Korean workers were paid a fraction of Japanese wages for identical work. Korean businesses that grew too large were taken over, taxed into collapse, or simply shut down by colonial authorities. The villain in this story was not a competitor or a market force. It was an entire empire designed to make sure men like In-hwoi never succeeded. Koo started as a trader in his 20s, buying and selling goods across Korea with a commercial instinct that impressed everyone around him. But Japan's trade restrictions strangled his business from every direction. By his late 20s, Koo was completely bankrupt, everything gone. But here is what the Japanese empire did not account for. In-hwoi was not the kind of man who accepted what the system decided for him.
In 1945, Japan's colonial rule ended. Korea was finally free, and In-hwoi saw something that almost nobody else saw in that moment. While every other Korean businessman was rushing to rebuild what they had lost, Koo was asking a completely different question. What does 30 million Korean people need right now that nobody is supplying? The answer surprised everyone who heard it: face cream. Korean women had zero access to locally made cosmetics. Everything was imported at prices ordinary families could not afford. Basic personal care products were a luxury that most people simply went without. Koo founded In-hwoi Chemical Industrial Corporation in 1947 and began manufacturing face cream in a small factory. His competitors laughed. A failed trader making beauty products in a war-damaged country with no money and no infrastructure. But within 2 years, In-hwoi face cream was in homes across Korea. And then Koo did something unexpected. He added toothpaste. Within 3 years, In-hwoi was generating enough cash flow to fund something far more ambitious. The face cream was never the destination. It was always just the rocket fuel. In 1958, In-hwoi walked into a room full of his advisors and told them he was pivoting into electronics. The room went silent. South Korea had never manufactured a single electronic product domestically. Every television, every radio, every fan in the country was imported from Japan or America. His advisors told him it was impossible. Korea did not have the engineers. Korea did not have the technology. Korea did not have the supply chain. Koo looked at them and said, "That is exactly why we are doing it." He founded Gold Star in 1958 with one mission: build the products Korea needs, build them in Korea at prices Koreans can actually pay. And here is the crazy fact that nobody talks about. Gold Star's first engineers had never built an electronic product before in their lives. They took apart imported radios piece by piece, studied every component, mapped every circuit, then rebuilt the entire thing from scratch using locally sourced materials. In 1959, just 1 year after Gold Star was founded, they rolled out Korea's first domestically manufactured radio. It was not perfect, but it worked, and it cost a fraction of what imported radios sold for. Korean families did not just buy it because it was cheap, they bought it because it was theirs. Here's where the story gets truly extraordinary. Between 1959 and 1969, in just 10 years, Gold Star did something that took Japanese and American companies decades to achieve. 1960, Korea's first domestically produced electric fan. 1965, Korea's first refrigerator. 1966, Korea's first black and white television. 1968, Korea's first air conditioner. 1969, Korea's first washing machine. Every single one of these was a first for the entire country. And here is the number that puts this in perspective. In 1945, Korea had almost zero industrial manufacturing capacity. By 1969, Gold Star was exporting products internationally and competing directly with Japanese companies that had been manufacturing electronics for 30 years longer. 30 years of Japanese industrial advantage erased in one decade. But just as Gold Star was hitting its stride, the man who built it was gone. In-hwoi passed away in 1969, the same year his company launched the washing machine that completed Korea's first full suite of home appliances. He never saw what came next. Under Koo's successors, Gold Star expanded aggressively through the 1970s and 1980s, entering the American and European markets with products priced so competitively that established brands were forced to completely rethink their pricing strategies. Sony had to respond, Philips had to respond, General Electric had to respond. A Korean company that had started making face cream 20 years earlier was now forcing the biggest electronics brands on Earth to change how they operated. Then, in 1995, came the decision that changed everything. Gold Star rebranded. The new name combined Lockheed, the original cosmetics company, with Gold Star, the electronics giant. Lucky Gold Star became LG. 2 letters. Clean, global, impossible to mispronounce in any language on Earth. And with that rebrand came a new global strategy that most people still do not fully understand. LG stopped trying to compete on price alone. Instead, they made the most expensive bet in the company's history, investing billions of dollars into a display technology that almost nobody believed in: OLED. Organic light-emitting diode screens, technology that produces deeper blacks, more accurate colors, and thinner displays than anything else in existence. Every competitor said OLED was too expensive to manufacture at scale. LG spent 15 years perfecting it anyway. Today, LG is the world's dominant OLED manufacturer. Apple pays LG for iPhone screens. Sony puts LG panels inside their premium televisions and sells them at twice the price. Hospitals use LG OLED displays for surgical imaging because the color accuracy is unmatched by any other technology. The company that was told Korea could not build electronics is now supplying the technology that powers the products of every company that tried to stop them.
Here is the thing most people never realize about LG. Every time you use an iPhone with OLED screen, you are using LG technology. Every time you watch a Sony Bravia television, there is a significant chance you are watching through an LG panel. Every time a surgeon performs a precision operation using a high-definition display, LG built the screen they're looking at. The brand name on the outside changes, the LG technology on the inside does not. That is the hidden power of what In-hwoi built. He did not just create a company, he created an invisible empire, one that powers the products of its own competitors and collects a toll from every premium screen sold on Earth. From face cream in a war-damaged country to the technology inside the world's most expensive phones, one fired, bankrupt trader refused to accept what the system decided for him and built something the system never saw coming. That is the untold story of LG. Now here is your job. Drop a comment below and tell us which empire you want us to cover next on Untold Billionaires. The most requested name gets the next video. Your comment literally decides what we make next. Until next time.